Hello, welcome to the Courageous Self-Care podcast. I'm your host, Christina Marlette. On this show, we talk about self-care that encompasses more than people usually think about self-care. So we talk about the body, we talk about the mind, we talk about the spirit, and of course you've heard all of those things, but we also talk about emotions as part of self-care. And then there are so many other aspects to self-care that we've been covering on the podcast for the last 10 months, I guess it is now. And what is so important to know is that we can't know everything ourselves. It is valuable to get outside expertise, build a team around us, because one of the greatest misconceptions is that self-care is done by ourselves. That is so not true. Self-care takes a community. That's why we live with other human beings. We're not meant to do everything by ourselves. And so to really illustrate this fact, I wanted to create a live in-person experience so that people could connect with other self-care providers. And that's where the Courageous Self-Care Festival emerged from, this desire to have face-to-face contact, to connect with like-minded people, and to create community around self-care. So the festival's coming up in a few weeks now. It's getting very exciting. And I have a number of speakers and vendors who I'm featuring on the podcast because I know not everyone who's listening can make it to the festival here in Calgary. And I want to share these incredible people with you. They are passionate about what they do. They have great expertise and insights that I certainly can't offer. So I have one of our VIP vendors with me today, Dr. Janet Major. Thank you for coming and welcome to the show.
Thanks, Christina. Happy to be here.
Wonderful. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you'll be sharing first of all, tell us who you are and what you're up to. That's what I want to know.
I'm a chiropractor, and I've been a chiropractor for 30 some years. So first of all, we look at the structure of somebody's spine. Is it moving and is it balanced? It's also going to vary depending on the age of the person, what we're looking at. So some problems are easier to fix than others. Kids that are in say, for instance, a one-sided sport, they may be doing repetitive stuff that keeps reoccurring. So there's some education around that. We also, because I'm integrative, I also like to look at somebody's beliefs and their thoughts and their feelings and how they're thinking about things may cause certain muscle tension, certain patterns in the way they interact, which may affect how their spine is moving.
Oh, I love that you do that, because our bodies are definitely not separate from the rest of us. Everything, like you say, is integrated. And so it's so valuable that you're going on the inside and looking at these thoughts and beliefs and then noticing how that shows up physically in the body. That must be so fascinating.
Yeah, there's a lot to people, and my practice is very personal. And over time, we get into those things. As I say, most people come to chiropractor for physical pain. And then it often leads to a deeper understanding of, not only what they're doing with their bodies, but what they're doing with their emotional selves and their imprints from their history and who they take themselves to be and those kind of things that impact how their muscles are going to hold and guard and move or not move.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know firsthand how valuable it is to go to a chiropractor. I remember after my first labor, I had never been to a chiropractor, and my labor was long and hard, and it was 23 hours. And afterwards, I found out about chiropractors, and I went to one, and she said, "Oh, your labor could have been so much easier if your pelvis had been in alignment." And I just wished that I had known before. But ever since then, I've been going, and it's made a huge difference to me.
Yeah, it's something that isn't addressed by the medical profession. They're there to deal with symptoms, and, sometimes those are needed, the anti-inflammatories and different things. But for the most part, manual medicine can take care of so many things. And it just gets us in touch with ourselves in a way that we might not if we're just living in our heads.
Right. So I would love for you to share a little bit about why the spine is so important and how it affects the rest of our bodies.
Well, it is so interesting, and there's many ways to look at that question. You know, we have a central nervous system and we have a peripheral nervous system, and the spine houses our central nervous system. And so if it's stuck, it impacts the tension on the spinal cord and where those nerves are going. And then on a more interesting level for me is the development of the nervous system. So we have our reptilian brain, and then we have, our midbrain and our forebrain, and they've all developed as we've developed. So when we became mammals, we developed kind of a social brain. And if you look at people that have different kind of stresses, they'll have it in different sections. So some of our fight or flight response is based on the reptilian survival brain. You know, some of our parasympathetic response is more based on our social interactions. And so sometimes looking at just if somebody's in sympathetic overload all the time, I may work with the spine and getting rid of some tension. I may recommend a homeopathic remedy or a vitamin. It may be just a discussion about, wow, your pelvis is tilted that way because you're always on. There is no place where your nervous system is able to repair. You're not sleeping well, you're drinking a lot of coffee, and this is what it ends up looking like in the body.
So obviously at the festival, you're going to be sharing about your practice and chiropractic, and you've said a little bit about it, but I want to know why, what is it about chiropractic and the integrative aspect that you love so much? Why is it so important to you?
It's a tough question to answer, but let me give it a try. The reason it's important to me is because I think that our passion, our deepest desires are to be more of who we are. Mm-hmm. And in order to get there, we have to do some educating. It's not so easy to get to that place. And so part of what I try and do in my practice is meet that person and figure out if there's something that's limiting them from being the best that they can be. Sometimes it's a physical thing, sometimes it's, a deficiency. And a lot of the self-care people will work on the deficiency, like, okay, let's go to the gym, let's, do this, let's do that. And I might take the approach of, okay, let's feel the deficiency, let's not run from it.
Yes.
Let's just be where we are and see who we're taking ourselves to be. Who is it that feels deficient? And where did that identity come from? Which isn't necessarily a typical chiropractic visit, but it informs the way I practice. And I may notice a particular place in the body that's holding tension and say, what do you feel when I put my hand here? And we'll see where it goes.
Your clients must absolutely love you.
Yeah, and I love that.
Do you have a favorite story of someone that you helped through your practice?
I have a few. One of them that comes to mind is a yoga instructor, and she came to me for some back pain, and as we worked with it and talked, she was hoping to open up a studio, but she didn't quite have the belief that she could do it. And, through working together, she did open up the studio, and she credited me with giving her the confidence to do so. And so I was very happy that she got to live her dream and also, help her with her back pain.
Right. I love that. I love that your clients are coming to you probably for something specific, like back pain, like you said, and then they're getting so much more.
Yeah. I mean, I really believe in making transformational changes for people. Mm-hmm. And the spine is part of it, but our personal relationship is as important to me as, their spine, who they are as a person.
I'm just so happy to hear about this holistic approach. And that, to me, is part of the issue with Western medicine, is it segments everything into like it's so compartmentalized and doesn't necessarily see people as a whole human being. And I feel like your practice is really challenging that and bringing it back to, there's this going on in your physical body and you're a whole person, and how can we make the whole person function at an even healthier and greater degree?
Yeah, and to do that, I'm not able to do a high volume practice because it wouldn't allow for that. And so I am a, more personal type of practice. And I do spend a little longer with people. Yeah, and that's what makes it fulfilling for me.
So would people come to you usually for a specific pain or a physical complaint, or do they come to you for emotional reasons? What's a typical client coming to you for?
Most people come in for a physical complaint. Some people come in for stress, but they usually have a symptom in the body. Mm-hmm. There's not that many people that would know about me ahead of time to say, oh, I'm really struggling with my boss. Let me go make a chiropractic visit.
Right. Yeah, we're not quite there yet in our holistic thinking.
Yeah. But the body and the mind are not different. And so, yeah.
Right. I'm just reading a book called Grit by Angela Duckworth. And she has studied a lot about the mind and body integration. And she said, this doesn't seem like a revolutionary idea to me, that our brain and our body are connected, but in the medical system, it's still disputed that they can be separate. And she said, I just don't get it. Like, this doesn't seem like a revolutionary idea. The brain is in the body.
Yeah, I think it goes all the way back to Descartes, I think, therefore I am. Yes. Could be I feel, therefore I am. It could be, a lot of things, therefore I am.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, I'm loving getting to know this part about you, Janet, and about your practice. This is right up my alley. I love things that are holistic, and I really appreciate that you are also looking at the emotions in there. And I love that you're expanding our awareness of why people would go to a chiropractor. And is it called integrative chiropractic that you do? Is that the name?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably other people that use the term, but for me, I chose it because I do look at a lot of different levels. And I think, how many of us actually sense our physicality, and those sensations are kind of like the letters, and the letters build the words. So the sensations build the feelings build the thoughts build the beliefs, and we're off to the races. So we can work backwards and teach people to sense themselves, Like when you have that thought, what do you notice in your body?
Exactly. Oh my gosh. The first time I had to be taught that each emotion had a corresponding physical sensation. It was brand new information to me. It was like my emotions were so separate. And then I started to notice, when I get angry, my throat tightens up. I had never noticed that in my life until someone pointed out that there was this connection going on, and it has been so valuable to help move through emotions rather than suppress them.
Yeah, and I don't think you're alone.
No.
I didn't learn that until a few years ago myself. It's amazing, like mind and body are connected, but to actually experience it in your own body and start to learn your body's language, that takes a little bit of discipline and a little bit of training.
Absolutely.
We don't learn that in kindergarten, unfortunately.
No, but hopefully, like I've taught my kids, so they know now. They know about 30 years earlier than I did. So yeah, next generation. So thank you for sharing all of that, Janet. Now we're going to move into some of the courageous self-care part. So what does self-care mean to you personally?
For me, I think it's how to function better in the world. And so I sort of think of it like maybe a three-legged stool. Part of it is organization. So if we're always losing our keys or, our house is a mess. We're going to be wasting time, so that could be one component of self-care, like how efficiently are we organized? Another component could be the emotional side. Do we have a working relationship with our family, with our friends, with our work environment?
Mm-hmm.
And then the third leg could be personal. So are we taking care of our body? How is our digestion? How's our sleep? Do we have time to digest our day, let alone our food?
Right.
And so looking at, where's that person need the support? For some people, self-care could be getting caught up on their taxes, because that's going to make their whole life function better. For other people, it could be, we all hope to be this one. Let's go out for a glass of wine and visit with a friend. Like that could be what's needed. Right. But, it's kind of wherever your weak link is, that's where the self-care needs to go, because that's what's going to serve you best in your ability to function.
You explained that really well. I really like the idea of the three-legged stool. And if one of the legs is weak, then you're just going to tip over. You don't want to get to that point.
It's usually the hardest place to go. So when we think of self-care, we think, oh, that sounds nice. But sometimes it's like confronting, sometimes it's saying, wow, I have really been neglecting this because I hate it. So I'm going to sit down and get it done, or I'm going to get some help because I know I really struggle here.
Right. And that leads to the next part. That's why I decided to combine courage with self-care, because it does take courage to look at that part that we would rather avoid. It does take time and effort to move through that fear. We often need help, like from a professional like yourself who's looking at the whole picture. We aren't designed to do it alone. And so the courage addresses the fact that usually if we're avoiding something, there is some fear involved, or we might just not like it, and it might be something that could be delegated. So I think you explained that really well. And moving into the courageous part, I like to get my guests to model what we're talking about. So the question I've been asking our festival speakers and vendors is, if you could share something with us that not a lot of people know about you, what would it be?
I think it's about how personally invested I am in the people that come to see me.
Can you say a little bit more about that?
Well, for me, it's like a sacred relationship. And so I'm there to serve however I can. And for some people, they just want an adjustment, and that's fine. I respect attuning to what their needs are. And for other people, they're really looking for a deep dive. And I've done, probably 12 years of the Diamond Heart approach, which is looking at, how our ego develops. And then as we go on the spiritual journey, how we have to kind of unwind the necessary ego that we needed. And so I have a lot of training, and I'm able to sit with people through very, challenging places and hopefully ask the right questions. I think living into our questions is, an important place to be. And for some people, their physical pains are not going to get better. They have some limitations. And so it's giving them the space to be with that difficult truth and what healing means for them from that place.
What I really appreciate about how you approach your work and your sacred gifts, Janet, is that you're talking about not trying to change what we can't, but accepting it and being with it, rather than having this energetic tension that we want things to be different. And that is one of the greatest birthplaces of change and transformation, is when we stop trying to fight something and we accept it and then move on from there.
I think that's true. And I think that with all the self-care and self-help, we've become somebody that needs to be better or needs to get fixed. And that's a perpetual cycle. And if we can, just question, who is it that needs to get fixed? It's a belief about ourselves.
Yeah.
And what if we're able to access, and be with our limitations and still allow them to change, but not from a place of deficiency?
Yes, I remember the very first personal development course I went to. I went through the whole thing. It was completely transformative. I felt so empowered. And at the end, I thought, I'm fixed.
Yeah, exactly.
Again. And then I went to another one and I had an even bigger epiphany. And I thought, what? There's more? So like you alluded to earlier, I think the greatest journey we get to go on in this lifetime is that of self-discovery, learning who we are, and then sharing that amazing person with the people we come into contact with.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, with all those seminars, we finally recognize it's not that life is going to go smoothly, but we're not identifying necessarily with that outside self. We have some very fundamental capacities, with our will and our strength and our courage and our sensitivity, that we're able to deal with those things that go wrong. It's not like they're ever going to be perfect. I mean, we are on planet Earth.
Yes, we signed up for this. So I know that people are going to be curious and want to know more about what you offer. Where can they find you online?
So I have a website, which is janetmajor.ca. My office is down on 4th Street and 18th Avenue, Southwest. And they can reach me by my cell, which is 403-540-4904.
Beautiful. And please do take time to explore this amazing approach to chiropractic. If you heard any of yourself, what you're going through, if you feel like you could use someone in your corner, do go and visit with Dr. Janet, because wow, what a beautiful service you're providing. So at the festival, if you are able to come, if you're in Calgary and you're here on November 17th, we would love to have you there. We have 100 swag bags that we're giving out to the first 100 people who get there. And all of the vendors and speakers are contributing to those swag bags. And I asked them specifically to put in not just a business card or just information. I wanted people to go in and be delighted by everything that they pull out. And you have a great idea. So what are you going to be putting into the swag bags, Janet?
I'm going to be offering a 15-minute consultation with people that think they might be interested in care. So they can come at no charge and we can have a discussion and they can see if that fits for them.
Yeah, that's a wonderful opportunity to create a deeper connection and find out what specifically you are seeking and how Dr. Janet Major can help you with that. I think that's really generous. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. And for those festival attendees, I will do a special discount for having attended the festival.
Ooh, that is so exciting. Thank you for your generosity. I really, really appreciate that and honor you for sharing that. So we are going to wrap this up for today. What I would love to offer you is a gift for listening today. This is a form of self-care, getting informed, learning about how you can shift your life with practitioners, with ideas, by taking action. And so if you are in Calgary or around this area, I would love to offer you a complimentary ticket to the festival. You can get that at selfcareticket.com, and the link will be in the description of the podcast. So I encourage you to give yourself a day of me time, learn some strategies on how you can build new self-care habits, and most importantly, expand your awareness of what self-care can look like for you. Dr. Janet, thank you so much for being here and taking time to share of yourself and your gifts with us.
Well, thanks, Christina, and thanks for putting on the festival and offering all these great things to everybody out there.
It has been quite an adventure, I must say. So I'm very glad that you're on this journey with me. And for you listeners, thank you so much for listening. I do look forward to connecting with you again next time. Bye-bye for now.